Great.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We're going to just take a couple of seconds here to let people. Yes, I am playing Dan's YouTube in the background. To let people start to switch over. We already have 20 folks switched over.
Great.
Oh, that went great, I thought.
Oh, good. Yeah, me too.
And hopefully also the cast will join.
I believe they are joining us shortly.
Great. Great. I love watching the numbers.
The numbers are fun.
Yeah.
Where are the numbers? Like, oh, I see them. Participants.
At the bottom.
Cool.
Do you see what's behind me on my wall?
Oh my God, you got one?
I got one. I ordered an extra one where it's going to hang in my office now.
Ooh, lucky.
I just love it so much.
So good.
And I think the different portions, you know, of the backdrop really work well in this.
I got to get someone to send me one of those.
We'll send you one. We'll get you one.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Absolutely. I also want your shower curtain, Chris.
You can find it online. It's not far away. Mayfair, Wayfair, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Just type in Magritte.
Yes.
That was my inspiration. Always Magritte.
Magritte. All right, let's see who we've got here. We've got Brandon's with us. Let's see, Rosie. Okay. Chat. All right. Welcome all. Okay.
Vicky!
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 Hi.
Woo! Way to go.
Thank you.
Way to go. And I think we'll probably start, and then hopefully the rest of the cast will come over. Okay, we now have 32 participants. Guys, I thought it might just be fun to start the conversation, Dan, with you and Chris. So first, let me say welcome to all who've joined us in the webinar. Thanks for seeing Origin Story. This is a very unique occasion because other than one room, I think, with graduate students 15 years ago, I haven't seen this since, and it's fantastic to see it again. So I think the format is just to talk amongst ourselves, bring in the actors, bring in Vicky, and then find out from those who are attending the webinar, questions and your thoughts, okay? So let's start, Dan, with you. How does it feel to see it again?
It feels, it's pretty strange, I gotta say. I mean, I had not heard a reading of it since, I think 2009 or 2010.
Yeah.
And I really hadn't, after I worked on it, that was at the Public through the Sundance Institute. And since then, I kind of hadn't looked at it. I mean, I don't know, the play, like, I always carried it with me, but it was not something that I was like dusting off until we did this. So it's pretty strange.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, do you feel a connection in terms of the writer you are now and the writer who wrote Origin Story?
That is such a good question. I mean, I do. I mean, it's so funny. Like, I wrote that play as a bake-off for you when I was just finished my first year at Brown. And I was much younger than I am now. So it was 14 years ago. I went and found the original email with the ingredients. Yeah. I mean, I hadn't seen a lot of theater at that point. I mean, I grew up in Orange County. I mean, obviously there's theater in Orange County, but it was not like part of I did not go to a lot of plays. I was in like high school theater I would see big musicals that would come to the Amundsen or some other like big touring show, but I didn't see a lot of, I certainly did not see any new plays until I was much older. And didn't like most of my, I had a lot more exposure to film, television, and comic books.
Right.
And so part of me, I look at that play and I'm like, oh yeah, this is written by someone who doesn't know better in a great way, in a way that's like really wonderful.
Right.
Like this person has no idea. Also, this person has no idea what he's about to walk into. And kind of,
right.
So there's like an openness to it that I always try to reach back and find again, but it gets, I mean, in a lot of ways you get older, wiser, now I've seen a bazillion plays. I like have a much better grasp of the mechanics of theater. But there is something to be said for those moments when you're, in a more naive stage, to use your parlance.
Bert States parlance. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I can see all of that. On the other hand, I also see this pathway to so much of your later work in terms of the kind of violence that suburban conformity does to us, and how incredibly harsh the penalty is to be a nonconformist in high school, in a suburban high school. That's a form of death. And in terms of, being in that kind of naive stage, I actually also think, and I think I talk about this a lot, the thrill of, discovering Ubu Wa by Alfred Jarry, or, the fact that these plays are written and they're like revolutionary. Because as you're saying, it's not that we don't know better, but we haven't been taught the conformity of the field.
Right. Yes.
Right. So we're bringing in Chris now into the discussion here. There's so many ways to go about this. I mean, this is one of the plays that I cannot forget, and particularly now with this vivid presentation that you put together in 20 hours. When you look at it on the page, it's a comic book. And there are so many different choices to make. And you had to make some choices here, Chris, because we didn't have time. And you had to make some choices. And you kept saying, let's go analog with this. Can you talk about that choice with Origin Story?
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to thank you, everybody involved with this, for doing such beautiful work and for inviting me. And thank you, Vicky, for being so awesome, and the cast for being like so game for something that's so strange now, that it's such an awkward language in terms of the platform that we're trying to make work in. And we're trying to find the toys, and we're trying to find the magic. We're trying to pull the magic from the machine, and I think what Dan has written is this beautiful poem. I think it's a beautiful poem. And, when I first read it, I was like, what? And in the same way, when I approached like Endgame, when I was directing Endgame in Chicago, I was like, oh, this is a poem. This is a poem, and it makes sense the way music makes sense. It has logic the way music has logic. And I thought to myself, okay, we're doing something that's built as a graphic novel. We can't use the images of the graphic novel because lots of different reasons. But I was also fascinated by the toys that we were offered. At the same time, if we can make it analog, because I really don't like those virtual backgrounds. They never seem to make sense to me. They never quite work. And we would have had to send the actors green screens anyway, right? So why can't we make a beautiful image that can move and change, but stay in a community, right? If we can build a community or kind of a culture within this format for it to play itself out in its strange and tragic and also kind of vaguely mundane way, you know what I mean? that felt important to me in a way to illuminate, or maybe the better word is to amplify what Dan has written. That
Right,
seems to make sense.
right. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. It's interesting when I stop and think about this, um, how much you prefigured the war of cultural values we now find ourselves in. The way that gender is used to divide us politically, and the way that 40% of our country insist on regulating bathrooms and our gender and our bodies. And that this, for you as a young man, you kind of foretold what was ahead in a really incredible way. How did you do that?
I have no idea. I don't even know if I don't know if that's true. I mean, that is incredible for you to say. I don't necessarily feel that way. I feel like there was a conversation about gender that was pretty, I felt like was quite present in the culture at the time. This was around 2006. So it's not, I didn't write this play in like 1950 or something. Like it was, I mean, a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago. It feels like a long time ago because so much has happened between now and then. And the conversation has evolved significantly since then. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was, a lot of it was just the proposal of the Bake Off, which was really, it was asking us to dive into like kind of a battle of the sexes. I mean, for those that don't, actually no one here probably has any idea what I'm talking about. Paula's Bake Offs, she gives her students or the people participating in one of her seminars or boot camps a list of ingredients with which you take, the participants take those ingredients, and you have 48 hours to go write a play. And that includes sleeping, walking dogs, eating meals, et cetera, et cetera. And so this Bake Off was one we did in collaboration with ART. And here are the ingredients. You want to? We had to look at Wonder Woman comics and television shows. We had to read Von Kleist's Penthesilea. And then the ingredients were a girdle, a special power, a scar, nighttime and dawn, a victor and a vanquished, and a bonus ingredient was a hairless youth. So I mean, I really feel like the ingredients are what led me to have that conversation. I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about I think I'd not long before read the book Middlesex. I was thinking about that book, Jeffrey Eugenides' like beautiful novel, and I just read 100 Years of Solitude, which I remember just feeling. There's at the very end of that book, there's this kind of like meta moment where it's like the book starts addressing you as the book and like draws attention to the fact you're holding it, and it's very emotional and very powerful. And I remember I was reading it like shaking, and I remember thinking like how powerful, like how interesting, how powerful it'd be to find a way to make a play feel the same way. I know this is Origin Story is nothing like 100 Years of Solitude. I'm not comparing Origin Story to the incredibleness of 100 Years of Solitude, but I was interested in those kinds of I don't know. It was. I mean, I feel like these things were in the culture.
Yeah, yeah. The thing that strikes me, one of the reasons that I thought this was going to be such, and now of course I want to see it, these incredible people getting into a room, and Chris and Vicky calling the first day of rehearsal for an actual production that we'd see this thing fleshed out. But one of the things that I feel about the energy, particularly of your early work and the energy of your bake-offs, which are extraordinary. I mean, seriously, I have never seen anyone, it's like an alchemy. It's like you spin gold in 48 hours with these different worlds. And one of the reasons I thought this would, well, you do. One of the reasons I thought this would be such an amazing chemistry with Christopher and you is that it seems to me, Chris, that you really excel in a kind of physical acting where people and their bodies morph very quickly. You know, I saw your Servant of Two Masters. I was on the floor laughing so hard, milk was coming out of my nose through the entire thing. But that flexibility of the body actually is a kind of gravity against a binary sexuality, that there's a binary sex. Instead, we're human beings that morph. And it's just very interesting, even in the beginning, how you're setting up that kind of spectrum of gender, that spectrum of identity, by the way that those newscasters are used, by the way people are just changing bodies as quickly as the background. So I thought this would be a kind of very fortuitous thing. And it seems to me that there's a kind of anti-gravitational force in theater, which I would like to call realism, where we have, you know, the fourth wall. And it seems to me that you as an artist, Chris, have been kind of fighting a fight against that by the way that you rediscover, you know, pre-20th century work. And it seems to me that you do that as well. I mean, I will always also remember, Dan, your Don Juan bake-off. So one of the things that my question is about this is, it seems to me that comic books, it seems to me that television and film can construct myth, the notion of myth and superpowers and a physics, a metaphysical world that is different than the ordinary world that we walk on. And it seems to me that the stage has insisted that it be a kind of world of realism. How the heck do we get back the power of myth when we open the doors? Is that something that's possible in theater for new work?
It's a really good question. Dan, you want to take that first? I just want to talk to 100 Years of Solitude for a second, because there's something in 100 Years of Solitude that I found really moving when I read it. It was about that guy who was followed by butterflies. And I'll never forget that. I think that the theater is a unique place for magic. Cinema can do it better, but it's not magic the same way. You know, there's something about a magic show. There's something about a magic show when it illuminates text. There's something about a magic show or something that's technical that, get out of here, I'm infested here. That it's not the same, you know? We're not in the dark knowing that people are doing something magic in real time, whether it's from the imagination, storytelling, the technical part, which Vicky's such a genius about.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know, that's where we find myth, I think. We find it in real time. We can watch the Avengers till the cows come home, and there's something gorgeous about that, but it's not the same as being in the room with people, breathing and feeling that hot wind come out of their face and feeling them recoil and feeling the kinesthetic connection that maybe we managed to conjure in this piece tonight, when we feel the violence and we feel and we respond in our little rooms in front of our monitors, when we feel pronoun beaten, we feel pronoun come on, or we feel that person falling, you know. It feels like there's myth, there's a possibility of myth in that also, even in this platform. I don't know. I had to bring my butterfly out. I've been hanging on to it for about a half an hour. I'm waiting for it.
What do you think, Dan?
Can we bring back myth? Can we make theater a place where myths are born? I mean, I keep coming back to the audience, to like the access people have in this country to go to the theater. I feel like it's just so limited.
Yep.
It's incredibly limited. It really hasn't changed. And it's like it was the same it was 15 years ago when I really started working in the theater. It feels in a lot of ways worse. There's just so many financial barriers. It's not part of the culture. And I don't like the way it might be in, say, when I've had work produced in England or outside of the United States, like other parts of Europe, there's just a very different attitude.
Yeah.
Especially, it's like what young people go do.
Yes.
Like, I think a lot of young people after the pandemic in Europe were like, I can't wait to get back to the theater.
Right.
And I don't know that attitude is quite as prevalent here in the United States. And I do, because I feel like young people are looking for those event experiences, that kind of, and I think there's just like an openness. And I don't even mean to say it's just about young people. It's just the diversity of the audience. I feel like if the audience were more diverse, if we were able to bring in more kinds of people into a room,
Yes.
I think it would change the kinds of experiences you see on stage.
Yes.
And it is a fight. And I don't know what to do about it. I really don't know. And there are people who are much smarter than me about this stuff and much like really understand the mechanics of box office or like audience outreach and all that stuff. And I think people have tried, and I don't know if they're going about I don't know. I don't entirely have a solution, but
and I think we should bring in the actors to hear their experience as well. But I do want to say that, one of my great frustrations is that this is a play that's got that youthful energy that very much challenges anyone who reads it or anyone who could see it into rethinking, as you're saying, Chris, the magic of the theatrical space, that's something we can play with. And it's not a budgetary thing. We can do it on no money. Instead, the only thing I keep going back to is that we've turned our back as a country in terms of putting budget into the arts. And instead, we rely on the patronage of a very small segment of the population. So we have gray-haired audiences, and I'm saying this now as a gray hair, versus an open forum that is where younger people come to have this kind of amazing cultural battle over myth. Do we have the actors here? Would you please come on? I want to hear about your experience in this. And I want to also say what a gorgeous, gorgeous job people did on this. So, woo! Brandon, are you here? Folks? Are they here? There we are. Yay. Hi. Just a question. What you had to do this you just had to leap. You just had to go for it. What were there any special challenges in doing this material in such a short amount of time and doing it on Zoom and apart? Any thoughts? What was it like? You all have worked before with Chris, right? Yes? Yeah.
I'll jump in. There a unique challenge to Zoom is that, especially with Chris's work, there's such a musicality to it. There's such a rhythm and a tempo, which is really hard to get when you're dealing with internet lags and you're dealing with people breaking up. And also when you're dealing with the way Zoom works, only one person could be speaking at a time. So it was very challenging. What Gabe and I did, we were the chorus, and there were many moments where the chorus was supposed to be speaking with pronoun, but you can't do that on this format.
Right.
So that was a challenge, which I feel like Anula and Chris came up with a great way to create that. with the light and I thought that was really great. But yeah, how do you get like yeah, like that.
Right.
How do you get the like collective voice together when the format literally doesn't allow for that? Chris, no one can hear you. I'm talking. That's what I'm done now.
The lip syncing of pronouns. So that was the choice of how to do this, right? Is that you would lip sync as the chorus, the voices. Was that looked seamless, but it must have been tricky.
Yeah, that was tricky. But I mean, kind of like Liz said, we just had to find a way. And I think it was about talking about bringing magic to the screen. I think it was about having these moments of power and something that's bigger than just one individual. And that was only possible by having an army essentially with a chorus. And so I think it was just finding any way we can, alone in a room, just tinkering about with lights and stuff. But yeah, I think looking back at it, it looks really cool.
It does. It looks really cool.
Can we also just say that Anula came up with, she found that light and she
That
just like,
light was amazing, Anula. Yeah.
yeah, she just brought it one day and was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I wish that we could have more occasions to be playful like this, and I hope we have more occasions to be playful like this when we finally get back in the rooms together. Brandon, do you want to talk about Troy? And I mean, you did incredible physical morphing into the tentacle purple beast.
Yes. It's interesting because like I used to work in a comic book shop. I used to work at St. Mark's Comics on St. Mark's Place, RIP, St. Mark's Comics. But like the thing that's interesting about Troy is like, or any comic book store owner, is that like as a kid you walk into these places and you're sort of, it is that magical place, but then you meet the people who own them as adults and you realize they're really kind of bitter human beings. I think that there's something that's lost when you sort of begin peddling these wares. And so I think that what made this so much fun was like knowing that on the inside of Troy is just this purple tentacle hentai creature that's kind of monstrous and scary, but it's also something that's born of his imagination. Like he still has an imagination. That creature wouldn't exist inside of him if he didn't hold on to that child. And so I think that that's where a lot of the fun and play of it came. And I mean, like Chris, of course, was like encouraging us to go as far as we possibly could. So.
Yeah. Now, Edmund and Zoe, you're there kind of playing, the romantic leads of the high school comic book or the high school film or the whatever. And so in this kind of wonderful way, in Nowheresville, you are the normal. You are the norm presented. How does that feel playing that in this world? Were you summoning people from your high school class as you did this?
I guess I can start. I think watching back, I wasn't thinking about anybody in particular. I was thinking about myself. I think there's like this cynicism that's developed, when you're in middle school and high school as this kind of like protective armor. And I mean, I definitely remember, like smoking behind, in alleyways with the friends. And I think it wasn't until watching it that I was like, oh yeah, that was little Zoe, little like, pretend badass Zoe, wasn't ever going to be hurt by anything. And then, so that's a really interesting exploration now. And I think in the context of like working with this amazing group of weirdos and Chris and like, I think for me, just as the, actor and as the human to keep saying yes to hope and play and expansiveness, and like what I'm learning about Zoom, and that magic can happen here, and that there are more pockets to find it. So that's really exciting to me. And being a member of this ensemble and watching how certain things really, really worked in this format gave me a lot of hope to move forward and participate in more, Zoom theater.
Yes, great. That's good. I may be calling you soon. Edmund, this has been my second experience of working with you back to back with Bull Rusher. It's so great to have you in this one too. How did you find this process?
Yeah, so much fun. Very different, as you can imagine, from Bull Rusher. It was really fun. Chris has a leaf on his head.
Toys.
It's really fun to be back with everyone, and particularly Chris, and Vicky, actually, who I spent a lot of time with in school, and Gabe and Liz. It was so much fun. And going back to the questions about the character themselves, I grew up in like a suburban town, so I wasn't really reading comics in high school, but there was something really familiar about the boredom and sort of like closed-mindedness that comes with that, like with the Nowheresville of it all. The closed-minded kind of inability to accept difference. And I think that that was really like easy to tap into as for better or for worse, whatever that means. So yeah, similar to Zoe, I think I came at it from a kind of a personal level, and yeah, it was so much fun to do. Although I will say it just makes me want to be in the room with this play more than anything I've done on Zoom. I think makes me want to be in the room with all of these people, because it's so physical, and it just makes me want to like jump up and down and run around.
Yeah. Gabe, any thoughts you want to share?
Jumping up and down and running around. Yes, all of that. It's just so much fun. It's to take a crack at this and to be working with Chris and Dan and this whole ensemble. It was just nice. I have nothing but good things to say about the whole thing. More, please.
More, please. I agree. More, please. Fortunately, for people who have seen this, and I keep saying to everyone, you'll never see anything like this in your life. I've been saying this for 15 years. This is running for 4 days and nights. So please tell folks that they can see this on our YouTube channel. The only other thing I just want to say here is that I've come to comic books later in life. And particularly watching Pronoun in this journey, it occurs to me to how much incredible pain and love and extreme emotions are captured, that you've captured, that is not at all two-dimensional. And that's the remarkable thing, that we may think of comic books or graphic novels as two-dimensional. Instead, I think you all have taken us on a journey that really has a very deep subterranean emotion about where we come from. And to some extent or other, I feel like we all come from Nowheresville. So by taking us on this journey, hopefully now we're like, okay, how do I get the gender violence of the Roses out of my own bones and make sure that that's not carried forward. And that's, I think, an extraordinary gift that you've given us as actors. I will, if you don't mind, ask for questions or comments from our participants. If we have any, things that you might like to say or tell us. Oh, I have to tell you, in this webinar, Major Steve Scuba from San Antonio, Texas is here. And Major Steve was an extraordinary participant in a year-long workshop that I had at the Wilma Theater with veterans and service members. And he did the Don Juan Bake Off. He did some extraordinary work in that workshop. So he said, I've just returned from an Army deployment. I hope you don't mind me reading this, Steve. And it feels like I've returned to a whole different country than I left a number of months ago. The play has brought back some normalcy to my soul. So he asked, what was the process like? And I think we've been talking about that. Rehearsals, how many rehearsals did we have?
We had 4, 5.
5?
Yeah.
Like 4-hour rehearsals, and that includes the recording, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. What's next for this gem of a play? Can it have a professional production in some format in the near future? If there are any artistic directors out there, I am hoping so, and that's exactly what I'm hoping Bard at the Gate does. There really is no reason why something that's this amazing, that uses all of the skills of performers like this, can't be done. So I'm hoping so. And if anyone out there is interested, boy, I'm happy to talk. And I know that Dan and Chris and the cast and Vicky are happy to talk. Okay, let's see. Is that a puppy? It's a pupper, and it's who's got the puppy?
Me. It's a big dog. He needs to go and pee. He needs to go and pee in a minute.
Oh, honey. Oh no. Oh no. Someone else
And
is
yes,
saying,
Wendy.
oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Don't you have a little corner in the, like, no, in the,
Over there.
don't you have like a little corner, a little pad that, no, you have to
He's 5 years old.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We've been through the. It's okay. We have a couple more minutes. I got a couple.
Okay. So this is a note from someone. This is from Georgina Escobar saying, I'm a graphic novel fan and was at the O'Neill and Lillet office when you were there in 2012. Love your stuff. Just want you to know.
Thank you, Georgina. Hi.
Okay. Someone else remarks, this reminds me of early biblical myths. Someone else is saying the energy comes through, not binary sex, not binary colors. Other thoughts or questions here? No? Guys? Any? I think maybe we've just, wait, there's one new.
My dog might have lucked out.
There was magic in the way you could hear the comic book in the reading tonight. I think that's true. I think that's true. Okay. No, I think that may be it. Anything else that people want to say while we're together? Yeah, Vicky.
I wanted to chime in terms of approaching this process as a stage manager who's used to running large scale rooms and big fancy tech processes. It was such a joy. So I thank you, Paula and Chris, for inviting me to jump on this, and Dan for your beautiful work to facilitate the way in which Chris is always able to capture magic. There's just something about you, man. There's something about you. And to use this new platform that we are now so deeply invested in, and it's the way sort of moving forward with how theater is going to progress itself, even upon its return. For me to manage, and I put manage in quotes because I simply helped foster. There was very little to this process that needed tough management other than the schedule. I did some time Tetris because we are all across the country. But I enjoy doing things like that. But being able to help facilitate a space in which this play could grow and breathe in the small amount of time we've had together was such an absolute joy. And I think as a stage manager, in person or on Zoom, that's always my goal, is to help create a space for the art to grow and make sure that the logistics are handled, that no one has to worry about that. And this cast was phenomenal. to work with. They took their time and explored beautifully, and some of my notes sort of reflect that as I was writing things down furiously to put in rehearsal reports later. The beauty and the joy that came from this project. So I'm just eternally grateful. So thank you.
Thank you. And the one thing I just want to say, and thanks to everybody, in the same way that I didn't want to wait for people to see origin story, because I think the second you read origin story, you're there thinking, oh my God, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know the form could do that. And I feel that, I've been passing it out like candy in workshop, because it then gives permission to writers to take the role book and toss it away. I feel in a like way, Chris, Vicky, all of the cast, Matt with his designs, Dan with you sort of giving this over to us. We're now saying we can be playful with Zoom. I think that this is a very exciting chapter now. And, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And to me, that's the thrill of us being colleagues, that as I see you do these things, it inspires me to go back to the drawing board. So I'm hoping, who knows, maybe some point, Dan, we'll have an origin story bake-off itself, where the next generation of artists can write their response when they see a production to origin story, which I hope will be very, very soon. We're getting a lot of thank you from people. And people are saying if there's any way to read the script, we'll see if we can find out on how to do that. I really would like to get this out into the theaters. People are thinking about their 2022 seasons. Folks on the webinar, please tell everybody about this. It will be maybe 2 years before anyone will get a chance to see this in the flesh. I want to thank everybody. I want to invite everyone to the last Bard at the Gate Zoom reading of this series, which is The Remarkable Good Goods, written by Christina Anderson, directed by Nigel Smith, on October 29th. Please come back. I hope people will give to the Trans Wellness Center. And again, I just want to thank everybody, and I hope I see everybody at the after party on Zoom. Thank you all. Good night. Thanks for joining us. Bye.